Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles. Early morning sunlight pours through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Marcus Wilson's luxury apartment as he stands in front of the window, playing with a wedding ring in his hand. This token, which had once symbolized commitment and loyalty, was now only piercingly cold. On that late afternoon 3 months ago, an accidentally glimpsed text message changed his life forever. Continue tonight? Want your hands all over me. The sender's name stung. Jack. Marcus remembers just silently putting his cell phone back in Lisa's bag without a ripple on his face. As a director of risk control at a top investment bank, he knows that some hunts require more patience. From that moment on, Marcus begins his secret investigation. He purchased state-of-the-art surveillance software and installed tracking programs on Lisa's phone and computer. Every message, every expense, every piece of location information is under his watchful eye. Little by little, a sickening truth emerges. Not only is his wife Lisa having an affair with her personal trainer, Jack, but she's also plotting to plunder his fortune. Honey, have you been under too much pressure at work lately? At this moment, Lisa was still pretending to play the role of a good wife, handing over a cup of coffee. Do you want to consider taking a long vacation? I see you've been working late lately. Marcus took the coffee with a gentle smile on his lips. Maybe you're right. It does seem tiring lately. He laughed coldly in his heart as he looked at the hypocrisy hidden behind Lisa's perfect makeup. Just yesterday, he intercepted a conversation between her and Jack. Just wait a few more months, and when he gets that merger done, there'll be a big bonus in his account. By then we'll be able to. You're so smart, baby. That nerd wouldn't even think of it. He's so buried in his work all day, he can't even find out his wife is cheating on him. Don't be in a hurry. We need to stabilize. When we get the money, we'll disappear immediately and make him regret marrying me. Marcus put down his coffee cup and walked into the den. On the wide solid wood desk, the computer screen displayed the flow of funds for the past 3 months, with every unusual expense clearly labeled by him. Luxury hotel bills, couple spa appointments, restaurant bills for secret rendezvous. All of these will be important evidence in his revenge plan. He opened the safe and removed a thick folder. It's loaded with photos taken by a private investigator, bank records, call logs, and even a recording of Lisa and Jack planning to empty his account. All this evidence he had gathered little by little over the past 3 months. Marcus, are you okay? Lisa's voice came through the door. I'm getting ready to go to the gym. Okay, be safe. Marcus' voice was gentle as ever. Say hi to Jack for me. He could feel a slight pause from Lisa outside the door, but she quickly left as if nothing had happened. Marcus turned on another display and pulled up the gym's surveillance feed. He watched as Lisa walked into the privates and into Jack's arms. The fitness instructor, who thought he was handsome, was proudly showing off his muscles. Son, this information is complete. William Wilson, Marcus's father, sat on the leather couch in the den, looking over the well-organized papers. As an experienced attorney, William immediately saw the value of the evidence. From a legal point of view, these are enough to make them pay. But, William paused. Are you sure you want to do this? It might be simpler to just get a divorce. Marcus turned and looked out the window at the cityscape. No, father. There are some lessons that take a lifetime to remember. I will make them realize how heavy the price of betrayal can be. William watched his son. He had never seen Marcus so calm and full of determination. The image of the always gentle and polite pedant seemed to be quietly transforming. You've changed, Marcus. People change all the time, father. Marcus' gaze grew deep. Sometimes the sheep that seems the most docile can be the most dangerous wolf. For the next few days, Marcus continued his perfect disguise. He pretended to be unaware and let Lisa and Jack have their way. He watched as Lisa took huge sums of money out of his account over and over again, recording every suspicious transaction. He silently follows Lisa's social media, and behind all those glossy fitness photos lie untold secrets. On his computer, a folder called Liquidation was growing. It contains a detailed record of every date, every purchase, every lie Lisa and Jack have ever made. Their rooming in fancy hotels, shopping sprees at luxury stores, and secret dates all over the place were all recorded by him. Marcus begins to lay out his plan for revenge. First, He secretly set up several offshore companies and transferred most of his assets into the names of these companies. He then set aside a sizable sum of money in an account Lisa had access to and waited like bait for his prey to take the bait. He also made sure to slip some information into Lisa's ears, suggesting that he was about to close a large M&A deal that would result in an all-time high in bonuses. The news really made Lisa and Jack more complacent, and their conversations became more and more reckless. "Is everything ready?" William's voice came from the other end of the line. "Yes, father. I have established a complete chain of evidence." The fortune Lisa thought she could touch was actually a trap I carefully set for her. As for that smug fitness instructor, he will soon find that his fitness studio is suddenly facing all sorts of unexpected trouble. Tax audits, customer complaints, license issues? William seemed to have anticipated his son's tactics. "This is just the beginning, father. I'm going to show them what it means to be truly desperate." Finally, early one weekend morning, Marcus discovers a post-it note taped to the refrigerator. Lisa's elegant handwriting reads, "Goodbye, coward. I never loved you." Marcus carefully removed the note and placed it in an evidence bag. This stupid woman finally pressed on. He opened his computer and pulled up a series of documents that he had already prepared. The first step to revenge begins by cutting off their financial resources. As the night wore on, Marcus sat in his command center, the Den, where a dozen surveillance screens operated simultaneously, showing Lisa and Jack's every move. They are completely unaware that they are walking step by step into a carefully woven trap. This ostensibly mild-mannered financial expert is using his amazing mind and expertise to weave a web big enough to destroy them. On the screen, Lisa and Jack are enjoying a candlelit dinner at a fancy restaurant, celebrating what they think is a victory. They would not have thought that this dinner would be their last luxury, because starting tomorrow, their nightmare is about to begin. Marcus closed the last file and took a deep breath. The prelude to vengeance is about to draw to a close. Marcus's plan for revenge is set in motion at the crack of dawn. His long, slender fingers moved quickly across the keyboard, and a series of commands froze several bank accounts simultaneously. In the meantime, a detailed report of financial fraud has been sent to the police investigation department. "Sir, you need to see this." The young officer from the police department's Economic Investigation Division placed a document in front of Detective Angela Ramirez. The seasoned female detective scanned the file and her brow immediately furrowed. "Marcus Wilson, the director of risk control at that investment bank?" Yes, the report was very detailed and involved financial fraud by his wife, Lisa Wilson, and a fitness trainer, Jack Thompson. Ramirez perused the material, the data, the times, the places. Everything was incredibly complete. "Too perfect," she said thoughtfully, "so perfect as to be somewhat suspicious." At this point, Lisa was standing at the cash register of the luxury death store, the expression on her face gradually changing from confusion to anger. "This can't be happening. Swipe it again." Her credit card was declined for the third time. The cell phone immediately rang with a notification from the bank. All accounts have been frozen, suspected of financial crimes. What's going on? Lisa dialed Jack's number in a panic. Something's wrong. All the cards won't swipe. The voice on Jack's side was equally alarmed. My side too. The gym's account is showing serious anomalies. All clients' advances have been returned. And my personal trainer's credentials have suddenly been suspended for review by the association's notice. While their hands are full, Marcus is relaxing in his office, sipping his coffee. The screen showed both Lisa and Jack's real-time surveillance footage, and every bit of their panic was clearly recorded. All the information you requested has been released. His assistant, Emma, told him via encrypted communication. All social media platforms received evidence of Lisa and Jack's inappropriate relationship at the same time. Marcus opened up social media, and it was already boiling under Lisa's carefully run fashion blogger account. Netizens angrily commented on her hypocrisy, with sarcasm and skepticism all over the bottom of those polished workout photos. Meanwhile, Jack's image as a fitness instructor is crumbling, with his exaggerated credentials, false training experiences, and even flirtatious relationships with other female trainees coming to light. "Mr. Wilson," Detective Ramirez appeared in Marcus's office. We need to get more details about your report. Marcus rises gracefully and makes a show of cooperating with the investigation. Of course, detective. It must be troubling to you that my wife and her friend tried to empty my accounts. Ramirez keenly observes Marcus's every move. The man was so calm, as if everything was expected of him. When did you notice the anomaly? About 3 months ago. Marcus pulled out a detailed financial report. Every unusual transaction is here, including the time, the amount, and who it was made with. Why didn't you call the police earlier? Marcus gave a helpless smile. I need to make sure this isn't a misunderstanding, detective. After all, this is about my marriage. Immediately after Ramirez leaves, he instructs his men to investigate Marcus' background. But the results confuse her even more. The man's resume is impeccably perfect, every investment, every deal standing up to scrutiny. Meanwhile, things are getting worse for Lisa and Jack. They hid in a low-grade hotel and watched their world fall apart. Lisa is losing followers on her social media accounts at an alarming rate, with major brands ending their collaborations with her. Jack's fitness studio has been reported in complaints, with clients lining up for refunds. This must be Marcus doing. Lisa shouted hysterically. How could he? He's always been so cowardly and controlling. Jack slammed his fist against the wall. We have to fight back. I'll go to him. Make him unfreeze the account. Don't do anything rash. Lisa suddenly calmed down. I know Marcus. He must have left a crack somewhere. We have to find a way to find out what he's got. What they don't realize is that Marcus' camera is recording their every conversation. He turned on his computer and began his next move. A series of seemingly legitimate financial maneuvers began to be executed, and Lisa and Jack's credit records gradually turned black in the major credit systems. Are you sure you want to do this? William asked over the phone. It would completely ruin their future. They should have seen this coming. Marcus' voice was cold. This is just the beginning. Detective Ramirez's investigation continues. She finds herself confronted with the perfect setup. All the evidence points to the fact that Lisa and Jack are indeed committing financial fraud, but there are signs of Marcus' careful layout everywhere. This Marcus Wilson, she said to her partner, he's turned the law into a tool for his own vengeance. But we can't charge him with any crimes, the partner shrugged. Everything he did was legal. Marcus does know his way around the law. He understands the boundaries of every statute and knows how to make a betrayer pay the heaviest price without breaking the law. He left Lisa and Jack a decoy account with a sizable amount of money. They will not be able to help it, Marcus said to his father. Greed will make them make mistakes. Sure enough, when Lisa found the account, she acted immediately. But the moment she tried to move the funds, the police, who had already been in ambush, showed up. This time, they finally caught substantial evidence. Marcus stood at the window and watched the flashing lights of the police car reflect on the glass. The second act of revenge is coming to an end, but the good stuff is still to come. He lifted his coffee cup and smiled softly at his own reflection in the glass window. The city will soon learn what a stupid decision it was to betray Marcus Wilson. The red and blue glow of the police car faded into the night, and a sneer curled the corners of Marcus's mouth. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, he could see the lights of the entire city twinkling in the night, tightening a little like the net he had carefully laid out. He turned toward his study, ready to begin the final phase of his revenge plan. In the study, a dozen monitors operated simultaneously, each screen displaying a different stream of information. On the center screen, Emma had just sent an encrypted file with a name that simply said, JT file. Boss, I found something interesting. Emma's voice dripped with excitement. Jack's past is much more exciting than we thought. I found records of his activities in 3 different cities. Marcus tapped on the file and quickly skimmed through the contents. It turns out that before he became a fitness instructor, Jack had 3 similar love affairs, each with wealthy married women. These women share striking similarities: successful careers, bad marriages, and a desire for attention. What's even more interesting is that all of these women have lost a lot of property in a short period of time, and Jack always manages to mysteriously disappear after their property losses. Perfect, Marcus said softly, tapping his fingers on the desktop. Get the media sources ready. It's time for everyone to see the true colors of this pair of dogs. Notify our informants at all the major media outlets. Tomorrow morning at 6 a.m., simultaneous release. Just then, Detective Ramirez was questioning Lisa in the interrogation room of the urban police station. Under the bleak fluorescent lights, the once glamorous celebrity looked woefully out of shape. Her well-kept makeup was already a spent mess, and her designer suit was crumpled. Where was the elegant noblewoman she used to be? Mrs. Wilson, Ramirez slapped a stack of papers heavily on the metal interrogation table, his voice echoing in the empty interrogation room. Please explain these unusual transfers. In the last 3 months alone, over $500,000 has flowed into unknown accounts. I have the right to dispose of that money, Lisa shouted hysterically, a panic in her voice that she didn't even realize. I'm his wife. Those are my entitlements. Even for a spouse, unauthorized transfer of large sums of money constitutes a crime, Ramirez said calmly, opening her laptop and pulling up a spreadsheet. Not to mention that we found out that most of the money went to Jack Thompson's personal account. How did you two meet, Mrs. Wilson? Lisa's face instantly turned pale. Just as she was about to break down, her attorney, Brian, arrived in a hurry. The high-priced attorney was dressed in a suit and carried an expensive alligator briefcase. My client will not answer any questions at this time. Brian stood beside Lisa, his tone strong, unless you can provide hard evidence of a crime. But Marcus had anticipated this step. At exactly 6 a.m. the next morning, the front-page headlines of all mainstream media were updated simultaneously. A detailed 50-page investigative report bombarded all news channels. The report not only reveals Lisa and Jack's extramarital affairs, but also digs deeper into their history of fraud. Shocking. Famous fashion blogger is a repeat fraudster. Fitness instructor's dark past. 3 emotional scams. 1. All victims were rich women. The money conspiracy behind luxury marriages. An in-depth investigation of the Wilsons case. Serial fraudster disguised as fitness instructor specializes in sniping wealthy women. These sensational headlines splashed across all major platforms, accompanied by intimate photos of Lisa and Jack on different occasions, as well as detailed evidence of money exchanges. Emma's team unleashed a network-wide bombardment to ensure that this content continued to fester across social platforms without any possibility of deletion or deheating. What's even more shocking is that Jack's first 3 victims have also shown up one after the other. Their stories are strikingly similar. First, they meet charismatic personal trainers at the gym, then they fall into a passionate love affair, and finally they find out that huge amounts of money have been transferred. The presentations of these victims added fuel to the scandal, and public opinion turned completely in Marcus' favor. You asshole. You ruined me. Lisa's voice came over the phone with unprecedented spite. Marcus, I swear I'll make you pay. Just you wait. The cost? Marcus' tone remained mild, as if he were discussing the weather. Don't you get it, my dear? It's only just begun. You think I'm the nerd who's easy to bully? Now it's your turn to taste the taste of betrayal. He hung up and turned to the long-waiting press corps. As an injured party, he decided to give an exclusive interview. This financial expert, who was once always shy in public, is now showing a heartbreakingly vulnerable side. I've always believed in love and loyalty, he says to the camera, his voice shaking slightly, tears hidden in his eyes, until I realized that the person I loved so much had been plotting how to destroy me. I don't know what I did wrong, why this is being done to me. The carefully staged interview immediately sparked strong public sympathy. People have taken to social media to show solidarity with Marcus and condemn Lisa and Jack for their despicable behavior. The hashtag Justice for Marcus quickly rose to the top of the hot search list, and more netizens began to uncover Lisa and Jack's dark history. William watched his son's TV interview at home and couldn't help but shake his head. You packaged yourself as the perfect victim. The play was so realistic. It's not a package, Father. Marcus turned, his eyes sharp as knives. I am indeed a victim. I just chose to seek justice in my own way. The most dangerous thing in this world is not the obvious enemy, but the wolf in sheep's clothing. Meanwhile, Jack finds himself at the end of his rope. His gym has gone out of business, all his clients are demanding refunds, and his fitness instructor license has been revoked. To make matters worse, victims from his past have filed lawsuits for huge sums of money. His perfect body, which he once prided himself on, has begun to blossom under the immense pressure. We have to get out of here. Jack paced back and forth in the dilapidated motel room. I have a secret account in the Cayman Islands where there is still money. If we can get that money out, we can start over. We can go to South America where no one knows us. Little did they know that this was the final trap Marcus had set. The so-called secret account was a bait he left behind, and the funds in it would trigger the police surveillance system the moment they were transferred. Marcus knows the greedy nature of the pair of dogs all too well and knows that they will be desperate. Detective Ramirez is in his office, staring thoughtfully at a picture of Marcus. The entire wall is filled with information about this case, and every clue points to Lisa and Jack's guilt, but she always feels like there's an unseen hand behind the scenes manipulating everything. He's so smart, she told her partner. Every step is perfect, like he's rehearsed it a million times in advance. It's not how a normal victim would react. But we can't find any evidence of breaking the law, said his partner, laying down the papers in his hand and spreading his hands. Everything he did was a perfect revenge within the framework of the law. There's no way we can charge a law-abiding man. As they were talking, the airport security system suddenly sounded an alarm. Jack and Lisa are trying to board a plane with fake passports. What's worse, Jack had just tried to log into that Cayman account, and the banking system immediately sent an early warning signal to the police. According to the data, they booked flights to Venezuela, the technician reported, apparently with the intention of fleeing to a country without an extradition treaty. The SWAT team has long been in position at the airport in an ambush. As the doggy couple prepared to go through security, Ramirez led a team to arrest them on the spot. You are suspected of major financial fraud and money laundering. Detective Ramirez handcuffed the two men, tightening the cuffs a few times in particular. We have hard evidence this time. Also, using fake passports to smuggle people in, that's a charge that can be added to the list. Marcus is watching it all from his office on a live surveillance feed. He opens the safe and removes a sealed evidence bag containing the breakup note from Lisa. He held it up to his eyes and whispered, "The game is over, my dear. You guys lost by a mile." Emma walks into the office with the latest news. The major media outlets have begun to report on their capture, and the prosecution has said that they will bring the harshest charges. Considering the huge amount of money and the use of fake passports to flee the country, the prosecution is very confident that they will spend at least 10 years in prison. Good. Marcus got up and walked over to the window, looking out over the city at night. Everything went according to plan. Let's look forward to the reunion in court. That will be my last gift to them. The plan of revenge was carried out so perfectly that every detail was under his control. From his initial betrayal to his current fall, Marcus has used his intelligence and patience to weave a dragnet from which there is no escape. Marcus, William's voice came over the phone with a touch of concern. You've gotten the result you wanted. Maybe it's time to let go. No, father, Marcus' voice remained calm, but with an undeniable firmness. This is not the end. The battle in court is the true endgame. I'm going to make them remember the price of betraying me every single day for the rest of their lives. As the night wore on, Marcus stood alone in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out over the city's millions of lights. Tomorrow, when the sun rises, the whole city will be shocked by this sensational news. And this, only a prelude to his plan of revenge. The courtroom, which will be the final judgment ground for their fate. Marcus, on the other hand, has prepared enough surprises for the endgame. The sunlight filtered through the courthouse's ancient stained glass windows, casting dappled light and shadows on the stately courtroom. Marcus straightened the tie of his dark gray tailored suit and sat calmly at the plaintiff's table. If anything, his gaze swept over Lisa and Jack at the defense table, both looking woefully out of shape against their orange prison uniforms. William Wilson stood in the center of the courtroom, his voice steady and strong. Your Honor, this case is not a simple marital dispute. It is an elaborate financial fraud, and the defendants, Lisa Wilson and Jack Thompson, not only betrayed their marital fidelity, but also attempted to empty my client's assets through illegal means. Judge Sandra Morrison nodded, and signaled to continue. William opened the prepared materials. First, allow me to show the court the bank transfer records for the past 6 months. Detailed financial data began to be shown on the big screen. William's voice echoed through the courtroom. It is clear from these records that Lisa Wilson, without her husband's authorization, transferred large amounts of money one after another into Jack Thompson's personal account. The transfers totaled over $1 million in just 3 months. Lisa's attorney, Brian, immediately stood up and countered, "My client, as a legal spouse, has the right to dispose of joint family property." Yes, ordinary household expenses are a spouse's legal right. William flashed an early smile. But the question is, where did all that money go? He turned to the courtroom technician and new evidence began to show up on the screen. These are Jack Thompson's spending records after receiving the funds. Luxury sports cars, watches, overseas real estate. Are these even family necessities? What's more? William paused. This Mr. Thompson has an even better history. A video began to play in court. It shows 3 well-dressed ladies, all of whom are Jack's former victims. "We all went through the same thing." The first woman choked back tears. "He approached us as a personal trainer, earned our trust, and then began systematically emptying our property." Detective Ramirez sat in the gallery and watched William's skillful performance. She had to admit that the experienced attorney did have the upper hand in the trial. The timing of the presentation of each piece of evidence and the order in which each witness is examined is carefully organized. "Your Honor," William continued, "the next piece of evidence to be presented is even more critical. This is a transcript of communications between Lisa Wilson and Jack Thompson, clearly showing that they conspired for a long time to plot how to swipe a huge bonus after my client completed an important merger and acquisition project. The recording played in court. When he gets that M&A bonus, we can take the money and get the hell out of here." Lisa's voice is filled with greed and contempt. A gasp went up from the gallery. The judge had to bang his gavel to maintain order. Lisa was ashen, while Jack glared angrily at Marcus, who remained seated gracefully as if it was none of his business. "What's even more interesting," William pulled out a new document, "is that we found this as they were attempting to flee the country." An elaborate escape plan was displayed on the big screen, including records of fake passport applications, overseas asset transfer routes, and even a detailed background design for the new identities. This was more than marital betrayal. William's voice became stern. This was a major financial fraud that was organized and premeditated. Not only did the defendants attempt to steal my client's property, they intended to abscond with the money and evade justice. Prosecutor Catherine stood up and added, "Your Honor, given the seriousness of the case and the fact that the defendant attempted to flee the country, the prosecution is recommending a heavier penalty." During his lunch break, Marcus encountered Detective Ramirez in the courthouse hallway. "I believe justice will be served soon," he said calmly. Ramirez looked at him thoughtfully. "Mr. Wilson, I have to admire your meticulousness. Every step is calculated with such precision." "It's not a calculation, Detective." Marcus smiled. "It's just letting the truth come out." The trial was more intense in the afternoon. Jack's attorney tried to excuse him. "My client is just a fitness instructor. He couldn't possibly have orchestrated such a sophisticated financial scam." William immediately presented new evidence. "So explain this." The screen showed Jack's alter ego. He had been an analyst at an investment firm before turning to fitness coaching after being fired for manipulating client money. The identity switch was very shrewd, William told the court, reaching out to wealthy clients as a fitness instructor, using the professional advantage to build trust, and then committing fraud. It was an elaborate trap. Lisa stood up suddenly. "This was all Jack's idea. He encouraged me to do this." She shouted hysterically, "Marcus, please forgive me." Jack also stood up violently. "You bitch. It was obviously you who took the initiative to seduce me and said you would give me half of the property." The bailiff had to come forward to stop the two men from accusing each other. Marcus still maintains his elegant posture, but there's an imperceptible sneer at the corner of his mouth. William continued his statement, "Your Honor, this kind of behavior must be severely punished in our legal system. Not only did they hurt a family, they trampled on the dignity of the law. Ultimately, Judge Sandra Morrison read the judgment. Lisa was sentenced to 8 years in prison for major financial fraud and Jack was sentenced to 10 years in prison for multiple counts of fraud and solicitation. In addition, the two will have to jointly compensate Marcus for up to $5 million in damages. The moment the gavel fell, Marcus felt a piece that had been missing for a long time. He looked at Lisa and Jack, who had been taken away by the bailiffs, and remembered the breakup note that had been posted on the refrigerator. Now it was time for them to savor the price of betrayal. As he walked out of the courthouse, William patted his son on the shoulder. "It's over." "No, father." Marcus looked out at the city skyline at sunset. "This is just the beginning of a new life." Some people need a lifetime to remember how heavy the price of betrayal can be. Detective Ramirez stood on the courthouse steps and watched Marcus' back fade into the sunset. The case had given her a deep understanding of the truth that sometimes the worst thing is not violent revenge, but the perfect sanction in the garb of the law. And Marcus Wilson, without a doubt, is the ultimate winner of this legal revenge. Early in the morning 5 years later, Marcus stood in his new office overlooking a panoramic view of the city. The president's office at Wilsongard Financial Security Consulting is located on the highest floor of the downtown area, with a view that allows him to take in the entire city. The once betrayed financial analyst is now one of the city's most successful entrepreneurs. "Honey, don't forget dinner with Mom and Dad tonight." Sarah's soft voice came from the doorway. The brilliant corporate general counsel is also Marcus' wife of 3 years. She walked gracefully into the office, her black professional suit accentuating her intellectual beauty. Marcus turned and smiled. "Of course I won't forget. It is our wedding anniversary after all." He hugged Sarah gently, feeling the hard-won happiness. Unlike Lisa's hypocrisy, Sarah is a soulmate who truly understands him. "By the way," Sarah handed him a file, "Lisa's parole application has been denied again. The evaluation team found that she still hasn't shown sincere remorse." Marcus scanned the file, no expression wavering on his face. "This is her 3rd application, I believe." "Yes." The evaluation report shows that she still tries to manipulate other inmates in prison, even trying to seduce guards to get special treatment. Some people never change their nature. Marcus sets the file aside and opens his computer to check his work schedule for the day. Wilsongard has become the nation's largest anti-financial fraud consulting firm, specializing in helping clients prevent and combat all types of financial scams. Ironically, it was Lisa and Jack's betrayal that opened his eyes to the potential of this market. Emma sent in a new report, Sarah continued, and Jack's little gym in Nevada isn't going to last. No one wants to hire a former financial criminal. Emma is still Marcus' right-hand man. Over the years, she's helped Marcus build a vast information network that monitors Lisa and Jack's every move. Even though both men have served their sentences, their lives have long since been completely ruined. "Mr. Wilson," the secretary's voice came over the intercom. "Sheriff Ramirez is visiting." Angela Ramirez has risen to the rank of sheriff and over the years has developed a sort of subtle professional friendship with Marcus. She walked into the office with interesting news. "Guess what? Jack wants to make a comeback and try to open a new fitness studio in Las Vegas." "Let me guess." Marcus leaned back in his leather chair. "He's up to his old tricks again?" "Exactly. Too bad he's not even acting as well as he used to now." The first target customer recognized him and immediately called the police. Ramirez laughed and shook his head. "The nationwide warning system you've set up does work?" This early warning system is Wilsongard's specialty and is capable of tracking and alerting financial fraudsters nationwide. Whenever Jack or Lisa tries to revert to their old ways, the system is immediately alerted. Speaking of Lisa, Ramirez continued, she recently began writing her memoirs from prison, claiming to expose the truth. Sarah scoffed at this. Another eyeball trick? No publisher would touch such a hot potato. Marcus got up and walked over to the window, looking out at the street bustling with people. Let her write. The truth came out a long time ago. In the evening, the family was happy at a dinner party at William and Catherine's house. William is retired but hale and hearty. He raised his glass to Marcus and Sarah on their 3rd anniversary. "Son, you've finally found someone truly worth committing your life to." Catherine took Sarah's hand and said lovingly, "When I first met you, I knew you were the right person." Not like that Lisa, flashy and pretentious. Marcus looks at the side of Sarah's face and remembers how they met. Sarah was the special counsel assigned by the prosecutor's office in that sensational lawsuit. Her intelligence, integrity, and empathy show Marcus another possibility for love. After dinner, Marcus and Sarah take a walk in the garden. The night was gentle and breezy. "Sometimes I wonder," Sarah said softly, "if we might not have met without that betrayal." Marcus held her hand tightly. "That's the irony of fate. A betrayal cost me a false marriage, but I found true happiness." The next morning, Marcus went through the company's operational data as usual. Wilsongard has helped hundreds of families avoid financial fraud and recover more than $1 billion in losses. In his office, the Lisa breakup note remains in a Ziploc bag, reminding him to never forget the experience. Emma knocked on the door and came in. "Boss, we've received a special request for help. The wife of an entrepreneur has noticed some suspicious behavior from her personal trainer." Marcus gave a knowing smile. History is always similar, just with different protagonists. "Arrange for me to meet with the parties." At that moment, Sarah walked in with a newspaper. "Look at this." The newspaper published Lisa's prison photo. The former celebrity is now desiccated. No longer see the old glory. "She's trying to garner sympathy through the media," Sarah said, claiming to be an innocent person blindsided by Jack. "Classic victim trick." Marcus shook his head. "Too bad no one believes her anymore." Emma's voice came from the hallway, talking to a client who had come in for a consultation. Marcus looks out the window at the sunlight and remembers the last 5 years. He lost a false marriage but gained true love, experienced the pain of betrayal but built a career. "Have you prepared the information for the afternoon meeting?" he asked Emma. "It's all ready to go. The board is interested in our new program in marriage fraud prevention." Marcus nodded. Ironically, it is his own experience that gives him the best understanding of how these types of scams work. He founded a company that is helping others avoid repeating his mistakes. As night falls, Marcus and Sarah go home together. Their villa is not as luxurious and ostentatious as it once was, but it is full of cozy life everywhere. Sarah took his hand and whispered, "What do you want to eat tomorrow? I can cook if I get off work early." Marcus smiled and kissed her lightly on the forehead. "Anything I eat is blissful where you're concerned. This is life's best revenge. While the betrayer languishes in pain and regret, the victimized has lived a better life." Marcus looked up at the stars in the night sky and was at peace with himself like never before. The flames of vengeance have long since been extinguished, replaced by a warm glow from true love and a cause. That's the end of today's story. For more captivating tales, hit subscribe and never miss an episode.